Hi AP. Okay, let's continue on with our study of seventh chords. Let's look at our second type, the minor seventh chord. Recall that a minor seventh chord is a minor triad plus a minor seventh from root all the way up to seventh. Here we have an example of the C minor seventh chord. Our root is C. We have a minor triad, C, E flat, G, and then from C up to B flat is a minor seventh, therefore making it a minor seventh chord. Minor seventh chords are abbreviated with a lowercase m and the number 7. And please be sure to put the line over the m to indicate minor. It consists of a minor triad and contains the interval of a minor seventh from root to seventh. Can you name these minor seventh chords? To name a seventh chord or any triad, you need to find the root. That's how we get its name. So in our first example here, we have an F sharp in the bass. So this is an F sharp minor seventh chord. In the second example, we have an A flat in the bass. This is an A flat minor seventh chord. Note the visual of the piano so you can see what minor seventh chords look like and the intervallic structure. Root, third, fifth, seventh. Okay, let's proceed. We need to construct minor seventh chords from the given root. So please take out staff paper. Just like we did with the major seventh chords, the first line will be minor seventh chords given the root. The second line we have in bass clef, you are given the third, and in treble clef, you are given the fifth. Okay, please do not alter any of the notes that are given. And let's do some together. So let's do the first one. We have an F sharp. We know that that is the given root. So let's build our two belly snowmen. Recall that minor seventh chords have a minor triad and a minor seventh. So first let's find the minor triad and build that. F sharp to A to C sharp. So we have our minor triad. Now we're looking for a minor seventh. F sharp to E is a minor seventh. So there is our minor seventh chord. And we would write it like so if we need to, but we don't need to do that. We're just going to construct them. And if we want to get technical, this is really an F sharp minor seventh chord. Okay, so let's look at one in bass clef on the second line where we're given the third. If the given note is the third, then we need to go one below, that would be the root, and then the fifth, and then the seventh. So now we need a minor triad. Our root is A, C, E. That is a minor triad, so I do not have to alter the root or the fifth in any way. And we have a minor triad. And here we have a minor seventh. So I don't need to supply any accidentals for that one. If we do one over here, we have the given fifth. So let's go 3, and then there's our 1, and let's put the seventh on top. And now I need a minor triad. I'm in treble clef. I have A, C, E as my minor triad right here. And I have A to G is a minor seventh. So again, I do not need to alter that. That's the same example, only in treble clef as the one from the given third. So take a moment now to please copy down this information and construct minor seventh chords from the given root, the given third, and the given fifth. And we'll be back to check in a little while to see how you did. Okay, we should be finishing up with this activity. On the next frame, I've provided the answers for you. Of course, check my work, because there's always that possibility that I could be wrong. But let's see how you did for constructing minor seventh chords. Remember, we are looking for a minor triad and a minor seventh from root to the seventh. Okay, we're going to proceed, so feel free to pause this video if you need to still continue checking your work. But we're moving on to the half-diminished seventh chord. So recall the intervals for half-diminished seventh chords. Here we have a half-diminished seventh chord in treble clef, and we're calling this the C half-diminished seventh chord because C is the root. Also recall that half-diminished chords have a diminished triad. So you have two superimposed minor thirds, right? And from root all the way up to the seventh, you have that minor seventh interval. And that makes up a half-diminished seventh chord. Half-diminished seventh chords are abbreviated with a slashed circle and the number 7. Half-diminished seventh chords consist of a diminished triad, and they contain the interval of a minor seventh from root to seventh. You should be able to answer this next question. Turn and talk with your fellow classmates and discuss how the half-diminished seventh chord differs from the minor seventh chord. Also discuss how they are similar. So compare and contrast the half-diminished seventh chord from the minor seventh chord that we just studied before. So hopefully you determined that the only difference between the minor seventh chord and the half-diminished seventh chord is the interval of a fifth. The fifth. The fifth is lowered a half a step, and that's what differs. So if we look at our example up here, we have a C, E flat, G flat, B flat. That's a half-diminished seventh chord because it's a diminished triad. But if I were to take away and remove that G flat, now I've created a minor seventh chord. C, E flat, G, B flat, because I have a minor triad. So now, on the next frame, please tell me the name of this half-diminished seventh chord. There's two examples. Notice the slash through the circle, so we know it's half-diminished. The name of the first one would be the F sharp, half-diminished seventh, because F sharp is the root. And this next one would be the A flat, half-diminished 7th. Notice the 5th of this A-flat half-diminished 7th is an E double flat, right? Because we have to do a diminished triad. It can't be a minor triad. So we're going to have to build some 7th chords with double flats. So my question to you is, looking at the above example, the A-flat half-diminished 7th, what would we call the above 7th chord if we made the E double flat just E-flat? Well, then it would be an E-flat minor 7th chord. I'm sorry, an A-flat minor 7th chord. Because remember, the only difference between the minor 7th chord and the half-diminished 7th chord is the 5th scale degree is lowered or raised, depending on what 7th chord you want to achieve. So now, we need to construct half-diminished 7th chords from the given root. Let's do one together. So let's do the third example on the first line, where we have an E-flat as the root. Let's build our snowman. So we need a diminished triad. So if E-flat is the root, we need to go a minor third above that. That would be an E-flat to a G-flat, and a minor third above that, a G-flat to a B double flat. If I left it as just a B flat, then I'm dealing with a minor triad. But remember, half-diminished 7th chords have a diminished triad. Finally, I'm going to need that minor 7th interval from the root up to the 7th. Right now, it looks as if E flat to D is a major 7th. So to make it a minor 7th, I have to contract it by adding a flat sign. And we have just created the E flat half-diminished 7th. Please don't forget to put your slash under, inside your circle to indicate half-diminished. You don't need to supply the chord symbol as I have done. Just construct half-diminished 7th chords. We're not going to do an example together for the given third and the given 5th. What I'd like you to do now is, on your staff paper, construct all these half-diminished 7th chords without altering the given note. And we'll check back with our answers in just a few. Okay, at this point you should be either finished or wrapping it up. On the next frame, I've supplied the answers. Let's hope they're all correct. Please check my work as well as your work. Recall that for constructing half-diminished seventh chords, that all of our responses should consist of a diminished triad and a minor seventh. And here we are. Please check the given third and the given fifth first, because I need to supply the seventh for the top line. I neglected to do that before. Okay, you can check the first line as well now. There was a really easy way that I just did that. I took the fifth, and from fifth to seventh, I realized that we need a major third. So that made life a lot easier for me. Also notice that I did not alter the given note in any way. Hopefully you have diminished triads and minor sevenths in your seventh chord construction of half-diminished seventh chords. AP, we are going to continue to the next frame. If you need to pause this video now to continue checking your half-diminished seventh chord construction, please do so. Otherwise, let's continue. And now we are going to go on to fully diminished seventh chords. Fully diminished seventh chords are also just known as diminished seventh chords. So if I say diminished seventh chord, I'm talking about fully diminished. Those two terms will be used interchangeably. Let's explore this diminished seventh chord. What do we call it? We call it a C diminished seventh chord, or a C fully diminished seventh chord. So I'll write my C here. Notice that I just have the diminished sign without the slash. Without the slash signifies that the chord is fully diminished. Recall that fully diminished seventh chords are similar to half-diminished seventh chords in that the triad is diminished. Here I have a C to an E flat to a G flat. That's a diminished triad. The only difference between fully diminished and half-diminished is the interval of the seventh. In fully diminished seventh chords, it contains the interval of a diminished seventh from root to seventh. Fully diminished seventh chords are abbreviated with a circle and the number 7. Fully diminished seventh chords consist of a diminished triad, and they contain the interval of a diminished seventh from root to seventh, not a minor seventh. So look at the example on the piano, and we have a C, which is the root. We have the E flat, which is the third, and we have the G flat, which is the fifth. So there's my diminished triad. And now what I have from the root all the way up to the seventh is a diminished seventh. Another interesting thing about the fully diminished seventh chord is that every interval is a minor third as we go up For example, from root to third is a minor third, from third to fifth is a minor third, and from fifth to seventh is a minor third. So when you have those three minor thirds, we're talking about a fully diminished seventh chord. I could very easily take this seventh, raise it up 1/2 step, and then it would be a half diminished seventh chord. Okay, so now, please tell me the name of this diminished seventh chord. This is an F sharp diminished seventh, or F sharp fully diminished seventh. Why? Because I have a diminished triad and I have a D7 from root up to seventh. In the second example, the name of the diminished seventh chord is an A flat diminished seventh. Notice that we have double flats. The E has to be E double flat to make this triad diminished. And to make the interval of a D7, I need to go from A flat up to G double flat. And here's a view from the piano. Root, third, fifth, seventh, root, third, fifth, seventh. You can check your work when constructing diminished seventh chords or fully diminished seventh chords and make sure that from the root to the third, it's a minor third. From the third to the fifth is a minor third. And from the fifth up to the seventh is a minor third. If they're all minor third intervals, congratulations, you have your fully diminished seventh chord. So now, let's begin construction of fully diminished seventh chords from the given root in the first line, the given third, and the given fifth in the second line. Let's do one together. We'll do the G in the first line, treble clef. G is our root. So let's build our seventh chord, our superimposed thirds. We can't change or alter the G, that's our root. Let's build a diminished triad first. The root up to third is a minor third. The third to the fifth should be a minor third, so we have B flat to D flat. There's our diminished triad. And now from fifth to seventh, we need another minor third. How do we get there from a D flat? Well, it looks like we're going to have to do F flat. And there we have our fully diminished seventh chord. So now what I'd like you to do is construct the rest of the fully diminished seventh chords from the given root, the given third, and the given fifth. And then we will check over our answers shortly. Good luck. Okay, AP, at this point you should be either finished or just about done constructing fully diminished 7th chords from the given root, 3rd, and 5th. Let's check our answers and see how you did. Recall that fully diminished 7th chords consist of a diminished triad and a minor 7th. I'm sorry, a diminished triad and a diminished 7th for fully diminished. Or you can think of it in terms of from root to 3rd is minor 3rd, 3rd to 5th, minor 3rd, 5th to 7th, minor 3rd. Let's check our work. Please check mine as well. Okay, hopefully there are no discrepancies with your work and mine, and hopefully you did a good job constructing fully diminished 7th chords. So far we have learned the intervals that make up 4 types of 7th chords. The major 7th in the previous video, and the minor 7th, the half-diminished 7th, and the fully diminished 7th in this video. In our next video, we will be talking about the dominant 7th. But first, I want to just share this chart with you, this reference chart, for the 5 common types of 7th chords. So feel free to copy down what you feel is important for purposes of studying. The only one really left to talk about more in depth and to study and construct and build is the dominant 7th. That's what we have left. Really, really important 7th chord. So I'm going to address that in a separate video on its own. So you should be familiar with this. You should now at this point know the intervals that make up a major 7th chord and the abbreviation associated with it. Same for minor 7th, same for half-diminished 7th, and same for diminished 7th, which we also now know that diminished 7th or fully diminished 7th are the same thing. And please be careful with your abbreviations. That's going to be all for this video. In the next video, we will be talking about and learning about and building the dominant 7th chord. Have a great day, AP. Thank you for watching.